parenthood is incredible. I love it so much, man. There we go. Yeah, it's so good. I love being a dad. So I have a daughter, 13 months now.
Yeah.
And
since we last talked.
Yeah, for sure. She was not here, right, when we last spoke.
She was on the way.
On the way, yes, that's
Yeah,
right. We had some
yeah.
good talks about it. And I remember
We
even
did.
like, I think after she was born, you had shared a book with me, which I didn't read yet, but I'm
Oh,
on
that's
a audio book kick right now where I'm listening to one called Stolen Focus, which I don't know if you've heard of it before, but it
I've
is
heard of
the
it,
best
yeah.
thing. You have? Okay, it's blowing my mind. So it's on the list for sure, but it's great,
Right.
man. How have things been with you? How's parenting? How's life?
Oh, good. It's been amazing, actually, transformative this year because our little one, Sage, has just started school. He's
Oh,
just
wow.
gone into foundation levels, and it's incredible. Like, it's just, we've got our lives back, and it's
Okay.
it's not in a zero-sum way. Like, he really likes school. He loves it. We finished the day and he's like, I wish I could stay here forever. Just, I mean, how
Right.
amazing is that he wins because he gets to go to this thing that he really
Sure.
likes doing, and it opens up his world and stuff. And we get, I get to work
Yeah.
like one day, and then I get
Yeah.
to work the next day, and
Yeah,
then I
yeah.
get to work the day after that. It
Dude,
blows
you were
my
telling me
mind
about
'cause-
the alternating day thing that you guys were doing.
yeah. So
Right.
we would basically, we'd do, a full parenting day every second day, and we tried childcare for like, I don't know, it was like 5 weeks or something, and
Sure.
it just didn't work out. He didn't take to it. He's a sensitive soul, this one, and it was kind of more trouble than it's worth. And also, the carer retired, so we're like,
Okay.
do we go through all of this again, or do we
Sure.
just hang out till school, basically? And
Right.
that's what we opted for, or kinder then.
Uh-huh.
And so it's been, we've gone from, like literally half of our lives spent parenting and having to stop work every second day. And, we tried other combinations, but that was the one that worked the best. Yeah, to school. It's unbelievable. So the amount of work that I'm getting done this year is phenomenal. It's just the pace, because it's more than just the time, right? It's also the stopping and starting and kind of where was I at a couple of days ago. And
Yes.
the continuity is phenomenal. So I love that here we're talking about parenting. I'm talking about not parenting.
Yeah, well, you
the
know
most
what?
exciting
It's
thing about parenting for me is not parenting.
Well, you've been doing it for, so how old is he now? Is he 5 or 6 or something?
He's 6 now, yeah.
6? Okay.
Yeah,
so
it's
you've
been a
been
long
doing
time
it
coming.
for six consecutive years.
Yeah,
So
it's a lot.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
is. It most certainly
is.
is. Give me
But
one
it's-
sec.
yeah.
Let me just check something here. I just want to see if, let's see, Phantom is the mic. We're good there. Speaker. No, everything is good. Okay, cool. Dude, that's incredible to hear. What I tell people is like 2 things, like these profound thoughts that I have about parenting that aren't that profound, but maybe they are. I don't know. You be the judge.
All thoughts about parenting are profound.
I think so. Okay, I'll take that. I'll own that. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was. It's the fact that I've been blessed to have been able to experience a lot of great things in my life. A lot of like good and great experiences, accolades, and just like positivity. My whole life. But now having her here, it just, as the phrase goes, puts everything in perspective. Like nothing else that I accomplish is even close to this. So that's item 1. And then the other one is like gratitude and appreciation for us having an opportunity to be parents. Everyone doesn't have the opportunity for various reasons.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
so for me, I'm just like, I'm thankful. Like I would just, we were just, I was changing her, getting her ready for bed and stuff before this. And just the right now for me, the moments of like her on the changing table and like being able to like stare at her and look at her and do all my weird things that most people who know me as a content creator don't realize that I have this strain. I guess most parents probably that kicks in, but me, I'm like, I just do weird stuff just in general, but I just love being able to do that, and she enjoys it. My wife doesn't like when I do weird stuff. She's like, no, that's childish. I'm like, I can do it now. I can do it now,
It's a prerequisite for dads. You got to do weird stuff. Yeah.
So well said.
It is amazing, isn't it? It's like one of those things that before I was a parent, I was like, well, I mean, I can imagine what it would be like. I know people who are parents and seen parents on TV.
Sure.
How different from reality could it be? But it really is. It's like nothing you can really understand. You just can't communicate what it actually is like. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my mic's a bit hot. I'm just going to turn down the gain a little bit on this side.
Sure thing.
I think that's a bit better.
Sure thing.
Partly because I'm shouting, but
yeah, you're yelling at me. I'm like, man, what is that? No, just kidding. No, it sounds good and perfect for leveling that out. And dude, yeah, I'm excited to have you on again, man. Just to link up and connect. I truly do enjoy our first episode. And I did enjoy our first episode. I mean, we went on some tangents, man. We talked about a lot of different things. I could have just kept chatting all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, and I was like, I was legitimately captivated by how, vividly you spoke of it. And I was like, man, I'm going to have to find a way to integrate this in my life. And obviously I didn't. I haven't played one time since the conversation, but it was an honest.
You've got no time for anything in your life.
None whatsoever. It was an honest thought, though. I have to admit that. I was like, that sounds super interesting right there.
Oh, there's time.
Absolutely, man. But yeah, it's definitely going well. So one thing that I've been kind of interested in talking to other creators like yourself and people who are entrepreneurs who are doing what they're doing full time. I've realized that, and if I'm not mistaken, before I even ask the question, before you were doing what you're doing now, you worked somewhere in a traditional sense with people. Is this correct?
In the far distant past, we're talking
far distant,
15 years ago, maybe even more. And it was very short term. It was the job to keep me going through uni.
Okay.
So it wasn't a real job, and it was a job with mates. And yeah, I've been really ridiculously fortunate in that I've never really had to have a traditional, kind of job.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just I can't believe it worked out that way.
I mean,
so yes and no.
For sure, that's important to even acknowledge. I guess that, right? Like the situation that we're in, that we're doing. Here's the deal. You just. Think about what you just said there, Michael. You said earlier how exciting it is for you that you have more time to get your work done, which your work is something that you're passionate about, and it's exciting that you have that time. And that is, just like you said, that is definitely something to have gratitude, and I feel the same way.
Gift.
It is.
Isn't it amazing? And it's actually really like when we talk about our days on and our days off for both of us, my wife Catherine is an artist. And our days off are the days that we get to work. It's our play days.
Yeah, true. And the days on are the weekends where you're back in, parenting full time for the whole. It's interesting.
Serving someone else.
It really is. And I look at this platform that I have here as something that I'm learning as time has gone on is a lot more valuable to me personally than I had maybe originally realized, in the sense. So I've worked for Verizon 12 years, engineer, marketing, all these different roles. I guess this now would be about 6 or 7 years ago is when I left. And there was a lot of socialization. There was obviously, that's like a major thing, collaboration, all that stuff.
Yep.
And now that it's just me, and I go to cafes during the day, which I love doing, by the way, and using my mobile teenage engineering gear, and my OP1 is back there, my iPad, and making music and stuff, doing live streams or doing work, and kind of balancing the two. It's incredible. However, I've started realizing that there's the social aspect is important to me in some respects, and so now having a chance to. Someone, I forget who it was that mentioned, one of my guests basically was just saying how special this is to be able to have an hour-long face-to-face across the globe chat with someone who's like-minded. And I don't do this with my friends that live local, right? Because we can't talk for an hour about something that we're both generally interested in. Yeah.
And I find a lot of the time this is some weird thing that I do, which is that on my days off, I tend to, I just want to work because I just love making stuff. It's what gets me up in the morning, and I don't make time to go and hang out with other people. And so, back in the day when Sage was a bit smaller, had a really good friend, Ben, who lived nearby, and we would hang out with our kids, and we would try to have these conversations, and having a conversation with the child around with another adult is kind of an impossibility. It's, you know, daddy, look, daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, right, I'm ready. What do you want? I have legs. Thanks.
Like, yes.
Well done.
Yeah.
Thanks for the interruption. So it's,
Right.
yeah, it was the closest thing that I've come to being able to have long conversations is kind of these, like, you're trying to get the sentence out quickly before the child needs something else. So you try and communicate the thought, and then you know, have to go and attend to whatever. And then, so it's just not, it's not something that happens in this life.
at all. Yeah, it's few and far in between, for sure. And so, it's just really cool. And I think like as time goes on, who knows when I'll ever, when I think I will visit Australia at some point. But like, it's cool to me to know that there's a potential for a chance to be able to meet people like yourself, who I've formed a relationship with over the years, digitally, virtually. And now there's like, it definitely does. It does.
I don't see any distinction between the real world and the digital world. It's all the same to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm lucky enough to get to, you know, with Loopy Pro, because I work alone. I'm a sole developer, and so ostensibly I'm in the same position. You know, I don't have a team that I would have social contact with, but it's not true, because I've got this amazing beta testing community which is developed around Loopy Pro, with people who are basically my colleagues.
Yeah, sure.
It's amazing.
Which is
awesome, I don't know how
right?
that's happened, but there's like this sort of group of like maybe 5 or 6 of us, and we talk most days. You know, on Slack.
Sure.
But it's it is like having a team, and I feel like there's genuine, you know, we have chats, and it's proper.
Yeah, for sure. And I could see, you know, from your end, you have, it's like a win-win, because like you have obviously people that can help share feedback, et cetera, and then from their end, they're contributing to something that is extraordinarily important to them, right? These are all people who are, I'm assuming, so-called like super users, people who like love the product, love the platform, and so now they have their hand in the development of it, which is, I've learned, a major thing for a lot of people, right? So that's really cool.
Yeah, it is amazing to be able to have a hand in something that you use every day, and I think that's there's a lot of benefit to that. But it's an amazing relationship to be able to have that sort of symbiosis. And
what are your thoughts on what my guy Henny the business has been doing with Loopy Pro lately?
He blew my mind. He was one of those blokes who was on my list of, I really want to find a way to introduce myself to this bloke and say hello and just put this thing in front of him. And I actually emailed him. I sort of made a list of, you know, 10, 15 or so people that I like would love to put Loopy Pro in front of, and email them out. And Henny was one of them. And I think he was busy at the time and didn't kind of work out, but he came to it on his own. And then suddenly he's making stuff with it every day. And just
wild to see.
Killing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild. Blew my mind. Yeah, he's an amazing one to have on board.
For sure. Yeah, I'm a part of his Patreon, and so cool. I was kind of privy to. I'm pretty sure. I think how it went was him talking about and experimenting with Loopy Pro before going the full-fledged year-out thing.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, it's inspiring. You know, the fact is like you're doing something that creative. You have your setup. You're just like that routine, that, you know, process of doing it every single day.
His process is amazing.
It's really, really cool to see. So I was thrilled, because I obviously know you and know him. I was thrilled to see that collaboration, and I think there's like a lot of great things that can happen as a result of it.
Yeah, I agree.
How do you feel about Loopy Pro and Logic Pro having the same abbreviation?
Oh, I know, that's a bit unfortunate, isn't it?
my friend texted me the other day, and it's weird because I've never used Logic Pro like on computer or anything like that, right? So when I see LP, I don't think Logic Pro, like I'm sure everyone who uses it sees. So like my boy texts me, his name is Brandon Rico. He uses Loopy as well, uses Logic, uses OP1, all this stuff. He's a fellow content creator, and he was like asking me a question the day before Logic dropped, and he said like, He said something like, "Yo, I'm trying to figure out if I should go live or if I should do like a full-fledged polished video for LP." And I was like, I was so confused. It just didn't register. I didn't even respond to it. And then the next day I'm like, oh, he's talking about Logic. So I want to know from your end, first of all, being in the space that you're in, were you aware? Did you like hear rumblings? Did you know that this was happening? If I may ask, before the rest of the world knew?
No, it wasn't on my radar at all. In fact, I knew after a lot of the rest of the world knew, because weird thing about me is that I'm kind of output only. Like, I don't really...
Okay, you just...
I read books, but I don't really, like... I'm not on news sites. I'm ashamed to say I don't spend a lot of time on the Audio Bus forum itself. I would love to, but you know, if I've got time, I'm making stuff. Is what I do. So I didn't know until quite late. I'm like, oh, geez, should I do something about this? Should I? I don't know. I guess not.
Yeah, right. What can it's just... Hey,
what can you do?
Like, exactly.
I mean, to be honest, look, you know, there's the weird timing of releasing this massive Loopy Pro 1.1 update, like the same week as Logic Pro comes out. That's kind of bad timing, but I kind of don't care so much. I think there's enough. I don't think it's a zero-sum world so much. I think there's enough air for everybody. And it's kind of like, you know, if you run a bakery and another bakery sets up just down the road, like it's not necessarily a bad thing. You've got more people coming in and, you know, maybe that is a bad example. Maybe that's a terrible thing for a bakery. I don't know.
Could be. Depends. Depends on so many factors, honestly.
It's a good thing I don't run a bakery. But if it's true for bakeries, it's not true for apps, because these things are, you know, you can try both. And the amazing thing about Logic coming to iOS is that it's like this, you know, 20-ton gorilla appearing on the scene, and is going to bring in a whole lot of plugin developers and people who are hedging their bets about the platform, going, oh, you're right. Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, if Logic Pro's on the thing, we've got to port our plugins over. Point. That's going to be great for the platform. And it's, you know, Apple is saying, look, we're serious about this for Pro audio, which means that we should see, not just more plugins and software coming to the platform, but also, you know, more attention to detail with how it works with hardware and that sort of thing. Yeah. I say in the week that Apple released an iOS update which breaks the camera connection kit, so you can't plug anything in over USB.
Did that really happen? I did not hear it.
iOS 16.5, I believe, has a bug that completely breaks the camera connection kit.
So a bug, not purposefully.
No, of course. It's an accident. And presumably it'll be fixed soon, because obviously it's a serious deal.
It's a massive deal for sure.
It makes me feel really good, actually, when massive epic bugs like this get through Apple's process. Because, you know, I screw up from time to time as well and break stuff. And, oh, man, I mean, that's a huge breakage. I don't think I've ever done anything that heinous.
Yeah, the timing is like, people are probably very upset right now.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a lot of people feeling that way.
We've released Logic for your iPad. You can't plug anything in to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Enjoy.
But don't worry. Yes, enjoy it to the best of its ability without this very important, you know. Yeah. You know what's interesting too, as a musician and music producer, content creator. So that same day that information came out, or the same day that Logic was released, there's another, you know, in my world, a massive news about Ableton coming out with their new hardware controller standalone. And then there's, I think someone else messaged me, like Arterior, you know, came out with something else too. So like a new keyboard. And what's fascinating to me is that we know there's so many ways to make music, so many. And what I'm kind of learning now is, I think the old me would have felt a little bit like there was pressure for me to have to download Logic, learn it, because it's something that everyone, like if you go on YouTube, like everyone has a video about it now, right? Yeah. But for some reason right now, my space is more so about just whatever is fun for me and whatever is creatively engaging for me. And right now, that's how it absolutely, right now, like, it's this thing, okay? You may have seen this before. I don't know if you've seen this, right? So this thing, no one knows really about the intricacies of what makes this so special. As me, as an engineer and a technical person, when I spend time upstairs for 25 minutes before bed every night, like tinkering around, as I like to put it, on this, and like experimenting and making stuff that I think and I I mean, I know sound like crazy incredible. Like it brings me so much joy, right? So for me, that's where my attention is right now. It's not like on everything else that's happening. That being said, one thing that's fascinating to me with Loopy Pro that I am I guess working up, like I have to figure out how to make this happen. Have you heard of Mark Rebellier? I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Yeah.
You know him as a loop person, of course
the
you know him, right?
bathrobed genius himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So every time I watch, and he's doing these live streams outside now and stuff. Every time I watch this guy, I'm just like, I just smile. I'm just like, this is excellent. This is amazing, right? He's using his musical talents, musical skills to make something on the fly that was not what he planned to make. And so for me, looking at, and I want to even do it like a little bit of a deep dive, and maybe others who have put their toe in the water in the Loopy Pro field but haven't like dove in fully. For me, I want to use that software in a similar way because I think my mind works pretty similar to his in the sense when I hear what he's doing, I'm like, I want to come up with these musical ideas. I do come up with these musical ideas on the fly, but I haven't sat down and like figured out how to make it all work. And so one of the ideas that I currently have, and well, before I say the idea, one of the issues that I have with making music is when things get too complicated for me is when I just back off.
Yeah, kills the flow, doesn't it?
It kills the flow. It's like confusing and things like that. And that's why I originally went into Loopy and then said, whoa, this way too, for me personally, way too much customization options for me. And I was like flabbergasted, right?
Yeah.
But then as time went on and I watched more videos and like learned about the fact that there's a whole community of people who absolutely thrive on and love the ability to customize their platform to do what they want to do. And then for me, also just reading books and like some of the book that I mentioned earlier today and stuff, like the idea of just because it has all these capabilities and all these things doesn't mean that I need to use it that way. And that was like a light switch moment for me, even like with this Roland Phantom keyboard or even Logic Pro, for example, or Ableton or any of these things that there's different ways of using it. I never used Ableton in the linear fashion. My mind doesn't work that way. I just never, ever use it. I use it like in the looping fashion, which is why something like a Loopy Pro or Chord Gadget is something that kind of speaks to me more so. But I say all that to say, like, I haven't figured out how to, and it's probably just because I haven't taken the time to, but like that's a goal of mine to be able to have, say, at one of these coffee shops, having just the iPad and at like a lean approach, like not a whole bunch of stuff on there, but just, I don't know, nine loops, 9 circles, 9 donuts. And perhaps I'm fortunate enough to be able to, Teenage Engineering recently released this. I think this is going to be incredible, actually. Their microphone, their CM15, like portable microphone that uses the same capsule as this flagship Neumann microphone, which is like one of the top of the lines, but it's portable. And so being able to like use these two together and just sit down for like a day or two and be like, all right, this is what the goal is today. The goal is for me to figure out how to set up the effects in a way that I can use my voice and just create whatever's in my head immediately. And once I do that, then it's a wrap, Michael. It's a wrap.
Yeah.
People are going to be
and
like,
you
yo,
have to do it once.
Yes, set it up, save the template, and then go do your thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's funny, it's this constant tension with Loopy Pro in particular, but my work in general, which is providing power, but in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming. And I feel like I haven't got it right yet. It's really difficult to do. I mean, when you first open up Loopy, it's just like these colorful circles that you can tap, and in theory, at least, that's all you need to do. I mean, it sort of looks like Loopy HD, which is Loopy Pro's predecessor, which is very simple. But I feel it as well when I come across a piece of software, even if it presents a simple facade at first. Even knowing that there's depth, it's kind of like It's kind of like getting into a swimming pool and knowing that it goes down 10,000 feet. Like, it's intimidating, right? Even if it's, ostensibly it's the same. You can swim back and forth. Like, you don't use the bottom part of a swimming pool mostly, but anyway, but just knowing that it goes down that far, it's like, this is all this stuff below me and I don't know what it is or what's down there or, I don't know how to solve that. And I find it really hard because I think, like you, I think there are lots of people who just look at what other people are doing with it. I mean, there are some Loopy Pro templates which are ridiculous. Jonas, who's one of the testers, and he's been there from the start. One of his templates is actually in the sample projects folder.
Okay, nice.
He's about as power user as power users get, and he's got a template it's got about 30 different pages. Each page has probably maybe 100 buttons on it.
Whoa, yeah.
And
that works for him.
Yeah, he loves it. He's my stress tester. It's like he is single-handedly responsible for a lot of the UI optimizations that I've done because I opened it. I opened his project once on my iPhone, and it was just like, has it crashed? No, it's still loading. Has it crashed? No, it's still loading. That's got to be a hang. No, it's still loading. He's done things that are so far above and beyond what I ever imagined for Loopy Pro. Yeah. It's wild. So this is just a long way of saying, you see some of these projects and it's, I would throw in the towel as soon as I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
But why would I want to get on board with that? That's too much.
I got stressed when you said 30. I thought you were going to say 5 and I would have been stressed there too.
Yeah.
But
no, it stresses me out when I see that project. I get this kind of pain behind my eyes, and why would you do that to yourself and me?
Right. He's like, this is the way my mind works.
But you don't have to. That's the thing. Like, you can make it as advanced as you want, but you can also just use the 8 loops or whatever that it comes with at the beginning and do amazing things with it, and people do. And Henny has got, all he's basically done is just tap the new loop button a few times, and he's just added another few loops and give them a few colors, and it's kind of it. And look what he's doing with it. Some really magical stuff. Yeah, but it's hard. It's hard to provide the power without it feeling like you need to learn it all up front.
Let me ask you a question about if you know of anyone who's using Loopy Pro regularly without having anything connected to USB-C, as in they're using it, and I know that there's like an algorithm in there. It's like record using just the mic on the iPad, and then it kind of like ducks, or it does some magic that you implemented to allow you to record the next loop without recording a high version of the previous one. Convoluted way of saying, do you know if people are using that regularly, or most people who use it are definitely using a headset?
I don't know, actually. I don't really have sort of visibility onto that. The people that I know who are using it regularly are using it with, plugged in audio interfaces and stuff. Because, I mean, for performing, because a lot of the people that I know who use it regularly use it performing. So on stage, busking, whatever. You have to plug it into stuff because you need it to run to the house speakers and stuff. You can't do that just with an iPad.
Of course. That would be a bad show if just your iPad.
gather around, everybody, and please stay really quiet.
Just how you max out the volume. It's like, it's not going to work. Okay.
It's not a good solution.
At all.
But I don't know. I mean, most people are definitely using it with gear. Yeah. And that's sort of how it's designed, with both MIDI hardware and with audio stuff. But
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for playing around with ideas, I'm sure there are people who are using it standalone.
If you just have your iPad with you and you don't either feel, I'm thinking about my use case. Like, I guess, let's see, how do I say it? Most of the time, when I'm using my iPad to make music out and about, like, of course I have something connected. So, of course, I have my headphones connected. But my headphones that I usually use don't necessarily have a microphone on it. So immediately with just like my, Sony headphones or whatever, they're connected with USB-C to regular headphone jack. And then at that point, it's, okay, I'm not using my voice at all. If I want to use my voice, I need a headset, to dedicated one to use, or connect other things to it. And that's when, like,
the device mic is pretty good too.
Well, can you use the device mic with
Yeah.
headphones? I don't.
Yeah, sure.
Can you?
If
Oh,
your headphones
okay.
if your headphones are have the 4 pins at the end, they've got a built-in mic, so you can use that. But if they're
Okay,
just a 3-pin headphone jack, it'll
Yeah.
use the built-in one. And Max Yar, who's an amazing guitar player, he's got a whole Loopy Pro course available.
Yeah.
And does stuff on YouTube as well. He's recently posted a tutorial video, like a demo thing, that literally uses the white headset and just an iPhone microphone, which is just pointed at his guitar. A couple of effects laid on top. It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It sounded really good.
Yeah. Maybe
it's,
afterwards I can get
yeah.
the link for that and I'll drop it in because I definitely want to see it. Maybe others who are watching would love to see that as well.
He's unbelievable. The stuff that he makes is just great.
Yeah.
And his course
Yeah.
is really good too. Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
this
So
is cool.
it's pretty cool. Yeah. You don't need a bunch of stuff. And of course you can run synths into it because you can host
Sure. Yeah.
any number of synths, plugins within Loopy Pro, and then feed them from. You can play the on-screen keyboard. You can hook up arpeggiators and sequences to it, and you can hook it up to a MIDI keyboard. So
and just do your thing with that, which
do
is
that too.
my world for sure when it comes to what makes sense for me. So, question about, I guess, updates on MIDI looping, which is a feature that I know is on the roadmap.
Huge priority, that one. Yeah.
Huge priority. So, what are your well, first of all, from a technical standpoint, is that I have no idea how to do any of that stuff, but is it very challenging? Is it are you making good progress? How is things going with
Yeah, it's coming along. I designed right from the beginning. I had planned to put it in, so there's a lot of provisions in the app already for it.
Sure.
I should have had it done already, to be honest, but I was kind of diverted a bit with the macOS version. So Beardy Man got in touch about 6 months ago and was like, I'm sick of my rig. I want to use Loopy Pro. And so I devoted a whole lot of time into building the VST, which he's built in his epic Ableton Live spreadsheet.
Who was the person you just said?
Beardy Man.
As in Beanie Man?
Beardy Man. Yeah.
Beardy. Oh, okay. Because I know.
He's an amazing looper. And he's all into live improvisation and building, full sort of tracks.
Okay. Yeah.
Using just his voice and a bunch of effects and stuff on it. So he's
that's what I want to. I want to check his stuff out then for sure. That would be inspiring for me to check out. Okay.
He's unreal. Yeah, the stuff he does is just ridiculous. He's right out there on the bleeding edge. But yeah, he knew about Loopy Pro and said, this is something that's important and I want to build it into my thing. And excuse the noise, Wilbur, our vacuum cleaner, has decided now is the time.
Perfect timing, yes.
He'll be out in a minute.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, it's and so he sort of said, how far off is the VST? And I went, give me a week or two. And 3 weeks later, I shipped a VST version to him, and we sort of went a bit back and forth. But
sure.
A lot of time has gone to that, and of course the macOS version, which is kind of high priority as well. But before all of that, the MIDI looping is next. So that's what I'm working on, kind of now. Yeah. So
and how will that? I mean, I think I know, but in terms of how it works, if I go ahead and put a AUV3 in and I'm playing and I just want to quantize what I'm playing, I can do that now.
Yeah, basically. So it'll work the same way that the audio stuff does. And in theory, basically you just add a loop and then, the same way you can add an audio input, you can add MIDI inputs as well. You can already do that.
Sure.
But in the destinations, so in the Loopy Pro mixer, you get the channels, which are, your MIDI things, your colors, which are your sort of your main audio tracks, and then there are outputs. There's a destination section, so you have effects, then you've got destinations. And for the audio inputs, you've got a set of colors that you can select for your destinations. That's the loop colors that are going to record that audio track.
Right.
It'll add a destination field for the MIDI tracks as well. So you just say, send that MIDI track to all the colors. Yep. And then when you play MIDI and you start recording a loop, it will record the MIDI to the loop as well as any audio that's recorded to the loop.
Straight away.
So it basically just treats it as another source. And then you'll be able to have a as destinations for the colors, you'll be able to select synths, which will be driven by that.
Okay. Also, that sounds more robust than I think I had originally thought, which is cool. So again, a lot of good customization options with that.
Yeah, you'll be able to drive a whole lot of different stuff with it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
hopefully it'll be fairly simple to use. And,
Sure.
there'll probably be a bit of automatic hookup. So when you add a synth, it'll automatically be added as a destination for colors.
Gotcha.
And, so when you start recording, it'll sort of play it. But yeah, you'll be able to, say, have one synth driven by the orange colors and a different synth driven by the greens. And so you'll be able to mix and match.
Right.
And yeah. And then
that's
send it
really
to whatever
cool.
outputs you want. Yeah,
That's
it should be
really
quite
cool.
nice. And then, you'll have quantize options, and then you'll be able to, when you open the loop, you see an audio waveform right now, you'll be able to basically see each MIDI layer that's recorded to it. You'll be able to overdub MIDI, of course, as well. So you'll be able to see the MIDI, and then you'll probably get a piano roll and be able to go and edit or put it in yourself if you want to.
That's big. That's massive. Yeah, I mean, the stuff that I do
cool.
like on my OP1, the reason I haven't dove into it the way that I wanted to or expected to is because it's like Loopy Pro currently, right? In the sense of no quantization, right? And all audio, like no MIDI type thing. And that's the way that I've made music historically, like on my workstation keyboards and things like that. But it's cool, like when I use Loopy or when I use the OP1, it's kind of cool experimenting with a different way of music that's a little bit foreign to me because it's not what I'm as used to. But it's nice to know that this is coming because I think that's going to be major for me and the me's out there who are used to this particular workflow.
Yeah. I mean, right from the start, one of the ideas with Loopy Pro was that its workflow doesn't force you to work to it. You can make it work to whatever workflow that you like.
Yeah.
So I think this will probably be a major step towards achieving that goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, should be good.
So
can't wait.
What would you say, like I'm excited too. Like several years out in the future, if you look at what would be considered success for you, for Michael Tyson with this platform, say 5 years
when
into
am I
the
done?
future?
I don't think I'll ever be done.
I think you have many years. You mentioned, right? You're not, at all planning to be done anytime soon. From our previous conversation,
I'm only just getting started. Yeah.
Yeah. So in 5 years, you're going to be still rocking with this, and it's going to be something that's going to be theoretically very different, more feature rich than it currently is, or just fine tuned.
Hopefully not different, just with more stuff. I mean, the way that I've architected it is that. Hopefully, if I've done my job okay, I can grow it out and it won't feel cluttered. Because a lot of apps, I mean, this has happened to a few big, well-known audio workstation kind of products where it started out with this sort of vision, and then lots of feedback coming in, lots of ideas put in, and it just gets noodly and. To the point where the learning curve is kind of prohibitive for a lot of people. Like there are a few products like that which I can't even, I don't even want to try.
Sure.
And it's they're just full, and maybe that's unavoidable. I hope not. It's kind of a bit of a gloomy prospect if that's true. I hope to be able to sidestep it by kind of planning in from the start. With the actions system, which means that you can, if you don't need a feature, it doesn't take up any room on the screen or anywhere. Like it's just in a list. So if you want to be able to, adjust the overdub feedback through a loop, fine. You'd add a slider, map it to a knob, whatever you want. But if you don't need it, you don't see it. It's not in the way.
Right.
So I imagine I hope that will happen with all the stuff that I build in the future. That it's fairly, I don't want to say invisible, but not in the way.
If you need it.
Yeah. Because I think there's a real, feature creep is this whole thing that can be a death knell for the usability of a piece of software. It can just ruin it if you take it too far.
1,000%.
And this is something I want to work on for years and years and years and years and years. And ideally it will still be usable by the end of that. If it's not, I've failed.
I mean, you have, I think what I would consider like an amazing community based on what you just mentioned about the folks in your beta, and then phenomenal. The stuff that we mentioned about Henny, and then John Paul, like the videos that you guys are putting out, I think are like excellent because and very timely, and I think very important, and they're just very well done because he knows the product extremely well. And so when I had a chance to like watch and see that, like, all right, you guys, what I would look to be like collaborating on him doing some of these tutorial videos, and they're very, very well done. So I want to give him a shout out and say that it's awesome that you guys are collaborating in that type of way. And I've been in some of his live streams too.
Should be a first port of call for anyone who's new, because it saves so much pain. Being introduced to this stuff first.
Totally. Yeah. Like how many of the? I think I've only watched a handful, maybe 2 or 3. There
are 10 with another 10 coming. Yeah, and I'm making them sort of every few weeks. I'll put out another video as well.
The
Loopy Pro Tips series.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, with the both of us together and everyone else who's making tutorials like Max, there's a lot of good stuff out there that can help get you on board.
Yeah. No, that's really cool.
It's great.
Are you a Black Mirror fan? The show?
It's funny. Black Mirror is something that in the past I've had trouble getting into. I really like series that allow you to sort of go deep, and Black Mirror is one of those because every episode is standalone. I find it there's always a bit of an extra effort required to get into each next one.
I see. Yeah, sure.
But I was really sick, so after I released version 1.1, I decided I'll take a few days off. Of course, immediately got sick for ages. And so I had a lot of downtime. So I actually watched all the Black Mirror stuff that I haven't watched yet. And I loved it. It became something that, I was like, why did I wait so long to watch this? This is great. So yes, I am a fan.
What was like a standout or either one or like several like episodes or moments that come to your mind like immediately?
I really like the ones that play with the idea of virtual minds. There was that episode with the sort of faux Star Trek world.
Oh, I just watched that one again for the USS Callister.
So good, yeah.
That was really good. Yes.
A bit of suspension of disbelief with we're going to take your DNA from a cup and then suddenly there's your whole mind in the system.
Turn your whole.
If you kind of don't think too much about that, the rest is amazing.
Hey, I thought it was believable. I have no idea about that stuff. So I mean, I don't.
Yeah, sure.
I was like, that works for me. I mean,
It's sci-fi. Everything works.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was definitely a good one.
It is, yeah. Especially now, and I feel like it could be 20 years time. That could be real. I'm probably not getting whole minds from a lip mark on a cup, but we're living in the hockey stick age, where everything is growing so exponentially that
so fast.
Who knows? I have this sort of. It's not a worry. I guess it's just an observation about our little boy and how do you prepare someone for a world that no one can envisage. Like even 5 years in the future, it could be radically different. The world could be radically different from what it is today, which is ridiculous. For most of history, you take anyone and you move them 5 centuries ahead, it will look basically the same, right? Like maybe they'll have a rounder wheel or a sharper club or something. Like you're really not out of place. But you could take someone from 30 years ago and move them to the current moment, and a lot of the world will be unrecognizably different.
That's a great point.
And that those intervals are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and it'll be like 10 years from now. You take me now and put me 10 years in the future, I'll be like, where am I? What is this place?
Yeah, that is scary. Interesting and scary, both. Especially as a parent, like you said.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's really hard to know because, like, we're at a point where it could be that work is not a thing when he reaches adulthood. Like with
what do you mean?
GPT.
What do you mean by that? Because I know about like college being very much a thing where it's not where you going to college. It's like, hey, are you going? Because it's so different now, and I think it's going to continue. But you're thinking, obviously, work to an extent. Go ahead and say what you're going to say about ChatGPT, because I have some thoughts on that too.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, ChatGPT is in beta. It's not. Like it's not ready for public use yet. It's just been opened up as this test. And look what it's doing already. I mean, copywriters are out of work because you just put in a prompt and it's off it goes.
Yeah.
And it's dumb still. It hallucinates. It it gives you ridiculous falsehoods. But it's in the test phase, and it's already so capable. It's already written quite a bunch of code in Loopy Pro.
Yeah. And my YouTube video descriptions, like, I'm like,
Nice.
oh wow, okay, yeah, it's pretty wild.
Don't need to do that anymore. It's basically like Steve Jobs thing about the computer being a bicycle for the mind.
Yeah.
This is a bicycle for the mind. Or this is like a sports car for the mind.
Yeah.
It allows you to shortcut so much work. But this is the early stages. Like, this is nothing yet. This is a toy. In 10 years, I mean, I don't see any reason to think that it's going to get worse or fail to get better at a reasonable rate. So, I mean, I'm just thinking about all the things that people do as jobs, which are, I mean, I guess people have been saying this since the Industrial Revolution, right? They're taking all of our jobs, robot overlords. But I feel like it's kind of more true now than it's been in the past. And I feel like, that combined with, the way that demographics are going, we're losing all of the experienced people because they're bloody retiring all at the same time. All the boomers are on the way out, and the number of people that are replacing them it's a smaller group because people are having less and less children, and so it's just, oh man, it's going to be such an interesting time the next 30 years. It's going to be this combination of not enough people to do the work because they're all aging out and there are just no children to replace them, or very few. It's not true in all parts of the world, but a lot of the parts of the world it's true. The US is going to be all right because they've got lots of imports who should really help. I think you guys are really lucky there. Yeah. But yeah, that combined with, this stuff with automation and AI taking over a lot of stuff, and who knows what it will take over. I don't know. I think there's going to be a really different approach to work and how we work for a living, like, I don't know. Yeah. It's amazing. So I wonder, how do you prepare someone for that world when you don't even know what it's for so much of our lives? It's been, we prepare people to go into a particular field or to work in factories. That's what the school system was originally. Let's, get these people lined up to go straight into the workforce, but we don't know what it's going to look like now. So, I say bring on the Minecraft. Let's make 3D things, which is what he's been into. It's as good a thing as any.
For sure. I mean, look. I think one of the things that is fascinating is just sitting down as someone who's into technology and someone as yourself as well. And clearly you've done it, and I've done it as well. Like, just thinking about and like brainstorming how, if this is ChatGPT, for example, if this is capable of doing, I keep saying the word this, but yes, if that platform is capable of doing what it's doing right now for my YouTube videos, for your coding, for et cetera, and it's only in beta like you just described, it's an interesting thing to have discussions like this to kind of see where people's minds go when they actually think through what this can mean for 10, 20, 30 years from now. And I think what you said too is very important about the parenting aspect, because I don't know if there is like an answer to it, right? Like, how do they prepare? How do we prepare rather them for what this world will look like when we don't even know. We probably can't even fathom it, really. I mean, some people out there who are like really in the know and who are really, I guess, who study, I don't know, culture and changes and technology and all this stuff. Maybe there are people out there who like, oh no, we know what things are going to look like 30 years from now. I would like to have one of those guys on my show.
They are lying. No,
I would say so, right? No, right? Yeah, for sure. Because if they did know, then exactly, it would make sense.
Yep.
It is fascinating, though.
I guess the best way to prepare is to teach all the meta skills, how to learn, how to, Yeah. I think maybe a little bit less time spent learning dates and names, and a bit more time spending on how do we acquire information, how do we evaluate information. That is a big one, because that's one thing I do know is that the world going forward is that information hygiene is going to be this massive importance. And I mean, it has been for the last 10 years.
Information hygiene, does that mean like being able to determine what information is worth like accepting or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's
And finding ways around our own sort of the cognitive errors that we've inherited from being monkeys for, millions of years of evolution. It's it doesn't necessarily serve us. And I've been reading this amazing book by the bloke that that does the Wait But Why podcast, Tim Urban. He's an amazing explainer, and he's written a book called I can't remember what the book's called. It's something like What's Our Problem, I think is the
What's Our Problem. Okay.
And he introduces this framework for looking at kind of what's happening across the world, but he uses the US because he lives in the US as a but it's really affecting us all. And he has this amazing system where he talks about the left and the right, the spectrum, and says this is sort of this really artificial construct that doesn't really tell the whole story. And he proposes adding a vertical dimension, where you've got high rung thinking and low rung thinking, where high rung thinking is where you're engaging the parts of your mind. Well, let's look at the other side. Low rung thinking is where you're engaging the parts of your mind which was sort of inherited from our tribal past. So, it's where you identify with a set of ideas as being part of your identity, and you need to hang on to those. And anyone who thinks something else is from another tribe, and you've got to fight them, and you get lost in this morass of tribal identity stuff. And then the opposite of that is where you take ideas and you think of ideas as being like a fighter, and you want to test them against other ideas and put them in a boxing ring and see who wins. And the goal is to find the truth. And of course, all of us go, well, of course that's me. I'm a high rung thinker. That's what I do. I want to know the truth. It's actually not true for most of the part. I think most of us are pulled down those rungs, and even that as a structure, as a way of thinking about how we engage with the world and ideas is, I feel like that book should be required reading for everyone who wants to sort of participate in society, because it's such an interesting way to think about it. And it sort of ties into echo chambers and all that stuff. But like working out how to be in the world where we live with, this information environment where, it's that thing about misinformation can spread so much faster than facts, because it's more, it grabs you more, like it appeals
volatile, it makes you angry, gets you, that's
appeals
the
to
stuff
your primitive mind.
100%. I mean, the guy in the book there was talking about that very topic, right? That social media platforms are designed to push that type of content more. Yeah, for sure. Because he put up, like, what did he say? He said, like, if someone has sees something that is equally makes them happy as it does makes them angry, they're gonna look at the angry one for a lot longer period of time.
It makes sense that you would too, because that's how you're not going to, if you're sort of living in the jungle and you're not going to be focusing on the lovely flower and the warm campsite. You're going to be looking out to see, am I about to get eaten by a leopard, right? That's what our minds are evolved to do. And these minds are the same minds. Like, we haven't had enough time to evolve to this situation that we find ourselves in now. We're running on the same old software, and it doesn't suit us. It doesn't serve us most of the time. It's pretty destructive, actually.
I think about it a lot. I'm kind of continuing with this book and kind of asking myself, okay, by the end of it, is there going to be some type of a solution that is recommended? I mean, this individual did like a detox thing where he was able to go to, I forget where he was at, but somewhere in the Northeast here, for several weeks or months without any technology, right? And just kind of thinking and, or very limited technology. I think maybe they listen to podcasts. I don't even think so. I think he had just books and stuff like that, right? But in the part of the book that I'm in right now, it's kind of alluding to the fact that from experts that he's spoken to since doing that is not the solution, because you can't, and I don't even know the exact reason because I didn't actually get to that part, but it was kind of like interesting that I think a lot of people might think that having restrictions, having limitations to how often you use it, and all this type of stuff is what's going to help you. Which I guess it could help you a little bit because maybe you're going to be on it less. But if you're in this world that I'm in, that you're in as well, but I guess not. You're a content creator, but you're a little bit. You're a lot of your time is focused more on what you're building, I think, right? So it's like,
yeah, I suppose I get to sidestep some of that because I'm mostly output only. But that comes with its own costs. I think you're right.
Yeah.
You can't just you can't just leave the world, right?
Yeah.
Like it's still the world.
Yeah.
And maybe I can imagine it would definitely help some people depending on what kind of the ailment is. I think there are lots of people who would benefit from just leaving because it's stressful, right? Like being in this environment where you're inundated with negative stuff all the time. It's it's not good for any of us. But at a wider level, like at the sort of if you imagine society as an organism, like the thing that makes the organism better isn't that. That's not the solution. And I don't know what is, but I mean, I think it's probably no one answer. It's probably lots of things. It's probably, the social networks and stuff, the way that the YouTube recommendation engine works, all that stuff. I think that's got to be one major issue. And if it probably is a huge change. I mean, Facebook's massive accommodation for the US elections was to only allow people to forward stuff to 5 other people, not an unlimited number. That was their great solution. So to propose anything more than that seems kind of crazy. But YouTube, rather than showing with their recommended videos a whole lot of other perspectives saying the same thing, what if you say alternate? So you're watching a video on, I don't know, global warming. Global warming is a bad concept because the ones who are like, no, it's not a thing, we're fine. I don't know. This is where it gets into the weeds because you can never weed out the misinformation. Like there aren't enough people in the world to do that, let alone at these companies, and the AIs won't be able to do it. I mean, it's just maybe they can, but it seems like smoothing out the huge bumps by alternating opinions. Yeah,
could be a good
rather
thing
than just
for us.
Just narrowing everyone down the same or their own little sort of rabbit holes because of the recommendation engine. Take random stuff, throw it in, break up those groups, not like prohibit them from associating, but add in extra bits and pieces.
You know what's interesting about that very, very thing? It's like that scenario, along with probably many other changes or tweaks that people have proposed or said might be good for us, are ones, and they gave an exact example. He talked about Facebook, and he talked about like how, and I don't know if it has it currently or doesn't, but he was saying like if you're visiting New York City and you want to be able to meet with maybe friends who either live there or who might be visiting at the same time or whatever, he was saying something so simple to be able to go into the app to find out which of your friends like locally are around you, and maybe you can hit them up and say, hey, let's meet for coffee or whatever. And just a feature like that doesn't exist because it is designed to help us as society, which apparently a lot of people would probably enjoy using that, but it's designed to foster deeper in-person connection and less virtual. So something so small like that, whereas what you're describing is something where it would benefit people probably to be able to, not probably, definitely, to be able to get different opinions. Of course it would, but would it help the company because people love staying on the platform because they're being fed what they already believe and stuff. If they see something that's a little contrary, it's like,
switch
oh
off.
no. Yeah, and it's very disturbing that we're all
bad
in
incentives.
this. Right, exactly. That's what it is. And then the other side of it is the fact that I'm able to meet people like yourself and many others across the world through these platforms. So I'm always hesitant to like not only bash, but also say, there's some great things about this, but there's a lot of really bad things about it, especially from a, like right now, one of the things that I'm trying to like kind of figure out as a content creator is I look at something like Patreon, and I look at something like Substack or any newsletter vehicle that allows you to be able to share information without it being algorithm driven, but more so going to emails, right? Like a newsletter or something. And to me, I don't know exactly how this is going to look in terms of output, but I look at those two in a bucket of wanting to be able to build enough of a community where I could like share more freely and not worry about the algorithm based stuff by like building those two platforms and having some sort of, obviously I can't just step away fully from YouTube and Instagram and stuff, but like right now, one of the things that's kind of working for me is, from an Instagram perspective, is they have a platform called Meta Business Suite, and it lets you, it's a free platform, and it lets you on your phone post stories, reels, whatever, do all that stuff, respond to comments, respond to messages, all that stuff, but you cannot see anyone else's page. So for me, deleting Instagram on my phone has been a thing that I've done for weeks and then loved it, and like, wait a second, I just have to post this, let me just download it, and then I'm back in that world. And so for me, this allows me to like be able to post when I'm doing something that I want people to know about. Like I have a new keyboard, like, hey, like I'm excited about this, boom, like sharing it to my community, all good. But now I can do it on my phone without being pulled back in.
That's nice.
It's great. I love it so much. And I think more people should know about that.
Yeah. I've never really been, I mean, this is sort of part of my output only thing. Like I've never really been a social media user. I have accounts on all of them, but I don't use them because I just use them to post. In fact, like Twitter, I forget about. I make some big announcement on Meta's platforms and I completely forget Twitter, and I'm terrible at it. And it's just recently I've started kind of doing some scrolling on Instagram a bit more because I've started following a lot of people that are doing music stuff, and I find it really interesting. But then it's really unsettling because it'll show me some random thing like a cat video, and you know I'll stop scrolling and I'm like, what is this? And I can feel the algorithm looking over my shoulder because I scroll a bit more. Oh, there's another one because I paused for a moment. And it's deeply unsettling the way that feedback mechanism. Like I just want to find people who are doing stuff with iOS music or whatever, and I'm just curious to see what they're doing. But I get shown all this other stuff, and suddenly my feed is polluted with all these cat videos, or you know, it's unbelievable the way that it drives you like you're a beast of burden or something. Down these. It's sort of been my first real experience with it, which is 20 years too late. But it's awful. There's got to be a better way, right?
Man, that's you're right. There definitely has to be. And I'll say this, and then we'll kind of get ready to wrap. I am constantly fascinated by people like you, like my brother, like my sister, who are like, in their cases, they don't even use it at all. Yet we are siblings, and yet we're all in the same demographic. I'm fascinated about how that happened. My brother Dwayne, my sister Danielle, how did they not get sucked into the world? Maybe it's a easy answer. Maybe it's just, they're different people and they just prefer doing. But it's very fascinating talking to my sister. She's not on Instagram. She's not on Facebook. She doesn't do any of that. And I'm like, not even envy it, but it's like I'm like fascinated, and I'm also like, good for you. Like that's awesome that you're not sucked in. She obviously misses out on a lot of things. Sometimes she asks me questions like, what are you working on? I'm like, we follow me on Instagram. I don't obviously tell her to do that. I'm like, hey, subscribe to my newsletter. Like this is a good place to start, right, for people who are interested, who are not on the social media platforms. But yeah, it's really. It's fun to talk to people and interesting to talk to people who have perspectives like you have, because I think the more that we all as a society start realizing what's happening. I mean, that documentary was a big thing. I'm sure a lot of people, Social Dilemma, I'm sure a lot of people deleted their accounts right after watching that, myself included. And then I just became more aware, like I'm being manipulated. That's to know that there is a man behind the curtain. That's a big step forward, right? I think
And
so.
I think we're probably going to see so much social pressure that something will have to give, right?
Yeah, at some
Can't
point,
just
I
carry
think
on
so.
like this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
it's
so.
going to
I
be
think
interesting
so.
though. Yeah.
Yep.
Hope it happens before my little one becomes a teenager and wants a social media account, because that is a mire. I do
Yeah.
not want to have him
Oh
wade
boy.
into.
I
I
can't
don't know how
even.
people have teenage girls especially, because those are the demographics that are really most affected by this stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a nightmare.
it is. It is. You can't
Yeah.
just. I mean, I don't know. I guess you can, but it's not easy at all to just say you're not getting it. You're not having an account. It would be
No,
nice to be able to do that, but that's
it
not the
doesn't
world we
solve
live
it.
in.
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
And it's just, you can't just sort of stick your head in the sand with this stuff, because it's the world,
Yeah.
right? And it's not this sort of little niche thing anymore.
Yeah.
It's how people communicate, right?
It's
It's wormed
yeah.
its way into the core of what we are, which is
It
really quite dreadful.
it has. It has.
Yeah.
And let's not even talk about likes and what that does. But it's a lot. But I
It
will
is a
say
lot.
this. Connecting with you has been just incredible. I'm glad we set this up. I'm glad to be able to see that you're doing well. Know that you have more. That's great that you have more bandwidth now to do what you love to do. I'm inspired now to like pretty much do the stuff that we just talked about, like experiment more with this idea of being able to make music in a way where it's immediate. Whatever's on my
yeah.
mind, using like specifically using a microphone. Forget even the keyboards for a little bit. Like the person that you just mentioned, like setting up a template where koala effects, specifically, maybe even just that, like start with just that koala effects
Yeah.
app, and like letting that, because I'm very familiar with that app, like very much so, and just like saying, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and like make a song with just my voice and a microphone and my headset on, like try that, and then expand further as needed. I'm excited.
It's an amazing. It's such a freeing way to make music. It's spontaneous, and looping is awesome. It's really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's cool to do, and it's so cool to see people do.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
cool.
Yeah.
Mark,
Yeah.
that dude whose name eventually I'll be able to pronounce. By the time I have him on
Exhilarating.
an episode, is it? Say it again.
Rebellier?
Rebellier. Is that Rebellier? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty sure. Yeah.
Rebellier.
I'm probably completely wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he said it with
Whatever.
confidence. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, it works. But yes, watching him is some of the most inspiring and exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, we won't harp on that again. But I will say this: I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. I genuinely appreciate you taking the time out. This
been a
will be a
blast.
It has been a great time. This will be a much easier time editing this, because that last time it was a damn headache. Not your fault, not my fault. It was Riverside's fault. But it's going to be smooth. I'm excited to be able to share this with our audiences. And
Cool.
yeah, I'm glad you're doing well, and look forward to keep in touch in the weeks and months to come.
Indeed. And enjoy parenthood. It's
Yes.
quite the ride.
Definitely plan to. I'm going to make sure that at some point in this video, if I remember to do so, like I'll have like a nice little like 5-second little clip that's over the video as we're talking of like me and Kayla, just so
That's
people can
nice.
see. Yeah, for
Cool.
sure. All right.
There you go,
Have
man.
a great one, man, and I'll see you next time. All right.
You too. See you around. I look forward to it.
Yes, sir. Take care.